Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the WOW History Channel. My name is Ron Guth, and today I'd like to talk to you about a subject that is in the headlines right now. That something is absentee or mail-in ballots and the potential for vote fraud. Now, I'm not going to comment on the 2020 presidential race, except to say that I find it absolutely preposterous that anyone who even hints at vote fraud is immediately shouted down as attacking the very foundation of American democracy, as if voter fraud, corruption, and bad actors don't exist. So, because this is a channel about history, I thought I would wow you with a little tidbit from the past just to show you that there is nothing new under the sun. But first, please hit the subscribe button if you like the history videos of the sort that I'm producing. Your subscription costs nothing, and it really helps me with YouTube's algorithm. This is a story that was in the Washington Post several months ago, and it describes a vote fraud scheme during the Civil War involving New York election officials who were creating false affidavits from Union soldiers who were out fighting the war in an attempt to steal votes in the 1864 presidential election. And they were stealing the votes from Abraham Lincoln and giving them to his opponent, General George B. McClellan. The original article comes from the October 28, 1864 edition of the New York Times, and I'll leave a link in the description below so that you can see the actual article. I recommend that you read the original article to get a flavor for how outrageous this scheme actually was. The deal was this: a soldier out in the field could send his absentee ballot back home for someone to cast for him. However, to do that, the ballot had to be accompanied by an affidavit signed by 4 people: the soldier, the recipient who was to cast the ballot back home, a fellow officer, and a witness to the affidavit. So 4 signatures. Sounds pretty straightforward and safe, right? Well, it turned out that a fellow named Moses Ferry, who had been tasked with overseeing the voting process for New York's enlisted men, had begun fabricating affidavits and using them to cast votes for McClellan. Now, another fellow named Orville Wood, who had been visiting troops from New York just to check on them and see how they're doing, he was alerted to the scheme. So he posed as a McClellan sympathizer and soon gained the trust of Moses Ferry, who revealed that he had already cast 400 votes for McClellan and 11 for Lincoln. I guess he had to throw a few votes in there for Lincoln just to kind of make it look legit. Ferry also brought Wood into the scheme, where Wood helped fill out affidavits and pass them off to an assembly line of other conspirators who finished signing them. According to the Washington Post article, they used, quote, the names of active enlisted men, wounded and dead soldiers, and officers who never existed, end quote. Ferry even joked about a list of some 400 sick and wounded soldiers. He said, quote, dead or alive, they all had cast a good vote, end quote. Now, as many as 20 co-conspirators were working at D.C. manufacturing votes for McClellan. Wood eventually revealed the scheme to authorities, and Ferry and his colleague Edward Donahue Jr. were arrested and tried. Both received life sentences just before the 1864 election. The trial judge called the scheme, quote, a fraud which, if it shall be successful, will, in my opinion, have produced a disruption of our entire country, and our war for the preservation of the Union will be practically at an end and futile, end quote. Lincoln went on to win the 1864 election with 221 electors to McClellan's 21, so it wasn't even close. But it could easily have gone the other way if Ferry's scheme had not been revealed. Today, we would like to think that candidates, their supporters, and their opponents are all reasonable, fair-minded people, but sadly, Whenever power and money is involved, there are those who will use any means possible to achieve their goals. Vote manipulation takes many forms: fraudulent ballots, stolen ballots, discarded ballots, altered ballots, prevention of legally certified poll watchers from overseeing the counts, ballot harvesting, deceptive robocalls that tell people the wrong date of the election, etc. Unfortunately, as we have seen in this story, vote manipulation has been going on for a very long time. Absolutely, we should all fight against it in any form or fashion. Thank you for taking the time to view this video and for your support of the WOW History channel. I would love to hear your comments and any suggestions for future videos. Please leave them in the comments below. So please have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.